Welcome to the FullyCrypto podcast.
Hello and welcome to the last episode of 2020 of the FullyCrypto podcast, your home of quality blockchain, cryptocurrency news, reviews, opinion and more. My name is Mark Hunter, and with me is the man whose New Year's resolution will be broken the first time he goes onto the internet. It's Alex Mears.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm alright. I was struck down on Christmas Day with the kind of sore throat and a cough, and I've been fighting it ever since. I've been chugging down cough mixture like a pig with a can of special brew at 9 in the morning. So my throat is on its last legs. So if there's a massive silence, it's because my voice has just completely given out on me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear, man. You're always getting sick. You need to drink more.
Do you know what? I was doing fine this year, considering that, let's face it, illness has been the main point of conversation for the whole of this year.
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty well until the last kind of couple of weeks when maybe the kids have brought stuff back from school. I'm not sure. Or it's the stress of Christmas or whatever it is. But yeah, really kind of fighting bugs off the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, sorry to hear, man.
How was your Christmas?
It was really chilled, actually. It was just quiet,
Yeah.
Just me, my wife, the kid.
I don't know about you, but I find that the build-up to Christmas Day is the main thing. This is kind of build-up and build-up and build-up. And Christmas Eve is usually the busiest day for us. And then Christmas Day itself it's a bit of an anticlimax, because once you do the presents in the morning, you've done all the Christmas activities you've been doing in the lead-up to it. So actually, Christmas Day is usually pretty relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Like, the build-up is the most exciting part. The rest of it's just meh.
So we've gone through Christmas, and obviously New Year's Eve, the day this goes out, which is quite exciting. We can finally bid a not so fond farewell to 2020. So we thought what we would do is just a bit of a review of the year as far as crypto goes. Plenty to talk about as always. So we'll just go through a few highlights and maybe a few lowlights and what we've enjoyed about 2020 as far as the cryptocurrency scene goes and what's going to happen in 2021. We think.
We'll just guess, yeah. I like the sound of that. I like guessing.
Excellent stuff. All right. Well, I'll let you go first then, mate. What are you going to look back on and remember from 2020?
For me, the thing I'm going to look back most fondly on is obviously the end of the year, I think. That's the only thing you can look fondly upon, really, this year, is, how it's gone from, what was it, like $3,000 in March to where we are now. It's incredible, that rise, and I don't think many people saw it coming. So to end the year where we are, I think that's the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, I think if you asked anyone in the space, their first reply would be Bitcoin, I think, just because it's been not even the price it's going to finish the year at, because if we had been on a steady rise through this year, it still would have been pretty momentous to be near $30,000 at the end of the year, whatever happened. But like you say, the fact that we've not come from, I mean, we started the year at like 7,000, but it's not the fact we've come from 7 to 28, 29. We've come, like you say, from 3,750, whatever it was in March. In the space of 9 months, we've achieved it.
Exactly, yeah. It's in no time at all that it's done this, and it's impressive.
Yeah. It really, really is. And that's one of mine. And I think one of my other highlights, I suppose, for this year is the fact that it's not just been the same as 2017. It's not just been retail people kind of, getting in at the tail end of the bull market. It's right at the beginning of one. And it's not retail buying in. It's these institutions. It's PayPal. It's MicroStrategy. It's all these massive companies who 3 years ago weren't interested in Bitcoin.
Exactly. It's big difference. It's big companies that are going to hodl long term. They're not just here to trade and sell. They're here to keep this going.
I think as well as the price, I guess it's indicative of the price, is the type of buyer that we have now. And the reason why we have that kind of buyer is because Bitcoin has it's come of age this year. This has been the year, because of what's happened with the coronavirus and everything and the mass money printing. This has been the year where people have realised, the people with very deep pockets, companies, hedge funds, whatever, have realised that it's like the light bulb has gone off this year, isn't it, for them? And they've realised what Bitcoin is actually about, and they're, for the first time, taking it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the year of the Bitcoin, sort of the Chinese New Year's,
What do you think would have happened to Bitcoin this year if the virus hadn't happened?
I really don't know. Again, I don't know how much the virus played into Bitcoin's sort of movements. I think a lot more people had a lot more time to do research and learn about Bitcoin and time to diddle daddle and play with Bitcoin. But as well, like, I think it was just time for Bitcoin to sort of come of age. Like you said, it's just, it's getting that point where it's not mainstream, but it is at the same time. Like, mainstream doesn't need to cover it because Bitcoin is just so big now. Everyone knows it. How about you? What do you think it would have done without the virus?
I think you're right. There was a feeling that it was kind of growing in understanding amongst the big players. We had peaked in 2017, and we've had the following 3 years, and I think it would have done something this year, starting at 7. I mean, if you look at the chart, actually, where we crashed in March, and it took a few months to come back to. If that crash hadn't happened, I could have seen like a straight line going across. I think we would have maybe kind of crept up 7, 8, 9 because we had the halving and everything. So I think we would have crept up 7, 8, 9, and we may have even ended up where we are. But I think a lot of the companies that have bought in have done so quicker than they had planned because of the virus. So we maybe would have seen this price action next year, but because of what's happened, I mean, you look at the reasons why the likes of MicroStrategy and I forget the other ones that directly referenced the money printing going on. It was because the virus happened, because the trillions and trillions of dollars that are being printed. It's because of that they bought in when they did. So we would have seen these prices next year, I think. But I think we would have maybe broken all-time highs at this point.
Yeah, I think it would have been a gentle nudge over the all-time high line. I mean, back in, I think it was June or July, I wrote a piece saying that I reckon we'll see 19,000 by January. So, I think I was along the same line you're thinking now. Is that without all these companies piling in, we would have sort of crept over the line just.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the dollar, the value of the dollar has just dropped. It spiked in March when all the stocks crashed, and then from then it's just been in this absolute free fall. So you can see exactly why the companies that have bought into Bitcoin have done. I mean, if you take MicroStrategy, for example, if they had left all their money in dollars, it would have depreciated something like 13 to 14%, maybe even 15% by now since March. That's how much the US dollar index has fallen since March. But given that their first purchase was in August, the profit they've made on the Bitcoin is $701 million today.
That's a fair chunk of profit. That's probably more than they make just by operating.
Well, exactly. So you can see why these companies did that. And so that's a perfect example of why they, these institutions bought in when they did because of the virus. So I think you're right. If it hadn't happened, I think we would be looking at around the 19, maybe pushing all-time highs into a bigger run next year. Whether getting to almost 30,000 now, whether that has an impact on next year, maybe this huge run we've had up to 30 now is going to mean we go higher next year, or the fact we've come to 30 now means we will stall for a bit and let the rest of the market catch up.
Yeah, I think it could cut either way very quickly. So I think either we're just going to carry on, we're going to blow through 30, 40, 50 onwards, or we're going to drop back down to maybe the top end of 10, just shy of 20k again in the first few months. I think it's going to be one or the other. There's not going to be a middle ground where it just sort of trades sideways. It's going up or down from here. There's no way it can go sideways, unfortunately.
No, I mean, you look at that chart, you look at the weekly chart, and it's just the length of the green candles is just insane. I can't believe it's gone up as it has. I mean, we were talking when it hit like 16, it was going to drop back down to 12, and it's just kept going and going and going. It's nuts. I mean, no, it can't carry on forever, but just as we think it's gonna fall back, it carries on, and I wonder how much of that is to do with the buying pressure, like PayPal and Grayscale. They're hoovering up all the new Bitcoin around, and the Bitcoin's flying off exchanges. So you're right. I mean, there is no... This isn't me getting carried away and being kind of FOMO and getting all sweaty palmed at this. Mm-hmm. I seriously, genuinely think you're right. We could be talking 30, 40, 50 before we have a serious correction, just because the tide is with it. And the money coming in now is not silly money. The buyers will stop eventually. It's just when.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, selling the top is just luck, unless you're one that's causing that to be the top.
Unless you are the whale that says, right, I'm selling here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unless you're the whale, it's just complete luck. I think a realistic target is selling just either side of it. Maybe 3-4% either side of the top is that skill.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a target in mind for next year? I won't hold you to a solid prediction, but what's your feeling for this time next year where we're going to be?
That's a tough one. I think we'll see 50k before summer.
Mm-hmm.
But where it goes from there, I honestly don't know. I don't know if we'll drop back down. We'll maybe be where we are roughly, and everyone will be like, "Oh, this is really sad. Like we're in a bear market kind of deal." But yeah, like okay, for this time next year, I think we'll be around where we are right now. But we'll see it with sort of negative eyes. This won't be a positive price. This will be it's only 28k.
Because we'll have come from 50 rather than coming from 3.5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. How about you?
I don't know. I'm with you. I think 30, 40, 50. I think if we carry on as we are, I don't see any reason why they won't come, within the first 6 months, because the way things are going, every single dip is being bought. It's crazy. And until the big players stop buying up, which doesn't seem like it's going to be the case because America's not going to stop printing money because the virus is going to go away within 6 months. There's all these factors that play into it, and there will be a point where the whales sell out. I think 50 is a reasonable target for them.
Yeah.
I can't see us getting the typical 30 to 40% correction before then. I think there's enough room to run until that point. Then I think we could get that correction, and then we'll get that gradual downward slope, like you say. So I think it's perfectly feasible that we could be around 30 again by that point, actually. Equally, if certain events take hold next year, if we do get the same retail euphoria as we got in 2017, then you could see 100 if it just keeps going up and going up and going up. But it needs that to flip over, and I think the difference is it was really, really appealing when Bitcoin was going from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10. Those were tangible figures for retail investors. 30, 40, 50,000, even though you can buy fractions of it, is not an appealing prospect for a new starter coming in. So that might put people off, or it might push people into altcoins.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think a lot of people don't realize you can buy a fraction of it, especially the new money coming in. They don't realize that's possible. They don't realize that's a thing. So they think, oh, I haven't got 50k to buy one, so I'm just gonna go and buy like Ethereum because I've got like $2,000. I can buy one.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. That's where the money's gonna go once we get past a certain point. The new money's just going to pile in the altcoins, and altcoins are going to boom.
I think moving on from Bitcoin, the other thing that I'm going to remember 2024 is the rise of DeFi and the complete shenanigans, for want of a stronger word, that came with that this summer. I think that's one thing I'm going to look back on, because it kind of came out of nowhere. This whole Uniswap phenomenon, it just reminded me of the ICOs in 2017. And looking back, it's very easy to see that it was nothing but a haven for scammers and influencers to line their pockets. There may be 1 or 2% of DeFi projects that actually have a purpose and you can actually do something with them. The rest, all the food meme tokens, all this kind of stuff, it was just absolute nonsense, and it was another ridiculous way for these influencers to just increase their wealth, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was very much crypto shithousery at its finest. There was it was just ICO madness from 2017, like you put it. There's no purpose to it because very few of them were actually legit. Very few of them actually had hard work put into them. A lot of them were just there, let's just copy and paste everything, change the food token, change it from a Bakewell tart to a sushi roll, and, we'll make a couple of million, call it a day. So I think that's the biggest issue with DeFi, is that none of the projects were really serious. I mean, there were some, but the vast majority just weren't serious.
Yeah, and it didn't take long for the genuine scammers, as in the ones that knew how to hack into these protocols and steal the money, but also the ones that designed these projects from the outset for their own gain, knowing full well they were going to ride the first pump up to get like 100x or 1000x and then sell it. And it just became an absolute shit show because you just had these tokens being trotted out. The same guys, oh, this one's going to do this one's going to do this. I can see this happening. You look back now, and it is just like the ICOs. The moment they hit exchanges, they went up 100x. These influencers sold out, and they've just gone down to zero, just completely crashed because they're worthless.
Yeah.
And I thought we were done with that.
So I think a lot of people, they missed out on the ICO boom, and they sort of plowed headfirst into DeFi boom simply because they wanted to make a whole ton of money. And I think a lot of people who took it like that did make money in it. But it's the ones who thought, oh, DeFi is the future. Let me actually try and make some money here legit. They're the ones that got burned because they left it in. They didn't see it's hit an exchange, now let's sell. They see, oh, it's hit an exchange, let me double down. So it's the newbies again that suffered again, just because they didn't know.
There was one project that I bought and I was debating whether to sell or not, and I joined the Discord group just to kind of see what was happening with it. And I remember reading it, and they were talking about, oh, the platform's going live and we're doing this and we're doing that. It's going to be really exciting. It'll be fine. This is just a temporary dip. And I just thought, this reminds me of 2017. This reminds me of the ICOs when, oh, the main net's going to be in a year's time. We're going to have this. We've got these partnerships. Do you remember that? Main nets and partnerships and stuff.
Yeah.
Once I read that people were holding these brand new tokens, holding for the long term, I got out straight away once I read that.
Yeah, that's a big red flag.
Yes, definitely. And related to that, one of my highlights, one of my kind of mini highlights, I suppose you could say, from this year was this Eminence Token. Do you remember that? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it does, yeah. I think we did a podcast episode on it.
We did. I loved it. I think for me, that summed up the whole farce that was the DeFi coin space. Because, this coin that it was an accidental launch. It was a test thing. There was no marketing for it, and still people plowed thousands into it because they thought they could make a buck on it, even though there was nothing backing it up at all. And then I love the fact that the cherry on the icing on the cake, they tried to crowdsource a lawsuit to get their money back. I mean, yeah, exactly. Staggering.
It just sums up the whole DeFi hype. Like you say, it's just absolute stupidity.
Yeah. And it's harsh because these people, you learn a tough lesson. And like the people that bought the dud ICOs in 2017, there's a whole new crowd all came in. It's a harsh lesson to learn, but it's a lesson nonetheless. And I'm worried it's just going to repeat again. There'll be something else next year that comes along, NFTs or whatever. There's always something that comes along.
Maybe there's something new, CeFi or some crap like that. There's always something.
My final highlight from 2020, I'm going to end on a high note here. A very unsuspected highlight was Meta One.
Yes, that was hilarious.
If the name Meta One means nothing to you, go back and find the podcast that we did. One of the early ones we did, episode 2 or 3, I think, maybe. Go back and listen to that because you will not believe the audacity of these people to pull the wool over people's eyes to the extent that they tried to do. And then, I mean, there was a project itself. And then after that, when I did the digging into Robert Dunlap himself, the founder and the CEO, his legal troubles and his philosophy of trying to get out of a loan for a Land Rover by claiming that the US government hadn't given the bank he borrowed money from the license to give the money to him in the first place. It was just unraveling before my eyes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very good read. It's a good listen as well. And I think it's just such a joke of a project. It has to make the top 3 at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still going. I still get these things now and again from them saying, I'm on their mailing list. They've still not kicked me off for some reason, but I still keep getting these emails saying that the coin is launching, the exchange is launching. But even though the SEC is still after them, they're still pushing this. So that's going to be one to watch next year, I think.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch, and I'd like to see how the SEC case goes.
On the subject of the SEC, we now have the very exciting proposition of Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson being taken to court by the SEC. What's your immediate view on the Ripple lawsuit?
I don't know. There's always been this suspicious thing about XRP, and it's always felt off. And a lot of people who don't like XRP have always said this. But then you have the XRP army who just, sort of they deny it, they fight against it, which is, it's fair enough. They've got probably tens of thousands of dollars in XRP. But it's always been one of these dodgy little coins for me, and I don't know, there's always been something that doesn't feel right. So this, I think, is a step in the right direction. I would like to see the SEC properly look into it and give it a classification. I think only at that point can people put aside their differences for XRP, because, there would have been some sort of ruling. And I think that's the biggest issue with XRP, is that people don't really get it, because it has been confusing, I suppose, by the sales and the documentation. So it'll be nice to get some sort of clarity on that.
Well, it's interesting you should say that it's been rumbling around for a year or so, because I completely forgot about this body called the Crypto Rating Council, who I'm not sure when they were formed. It may just have been last year, but it's a body made up of a bunch of US exchanges. And last year they brought out their kind of their first rating system, where they graded each cryptocurrency, well, not each one, one of the main ones, based on their attractiveness for an exchange. So you're looking at all the things like, the community, the likelihood of being a security, this sort of thing. And when they came out, it was a grading of 1 to 5. And they actually graded XRP a 4 out of 5, with 5 being the worst and 1 being the best. So they gave XRP a 4 out of 5 because it had the potential to be judged as a security in the future.
Oh, yeah?
So they obviously knew something going back then, and I'd forgotten about this. So you're right, it's been known about definitely by exchanges for at least a year.
I remember when I first got into XRP, this was maybe early 2018. There was rumblings of something being off with it at that point. So, that's why I got out of it at the time. I cut my losses there. But, look, between you and I don't think it's a security, and I don't think it's a utility token. It's sort of like a hybrid between the two. And I think they need to create some sort of classification for these that, it doesn't... Okay, it lets you interact with the network, but it also lets you own the network. It's more of I don't know, I would call it a liquidity token. It just allows you to provide liquidity to a network.
I think if they had just kind of released it like an airdrop, it wouldn't have been considered a security. But the fact that they sold it, I think this is the issue, is the way they sold it in the early days. If the SEC can prove that they sold it in that way, there's all this fuss about it. All it will be is a fine, and they'll just carry on. They're not going to close it down or anything like they did with EOS. They paid a $4 million fine or something because of how they raised the money.
At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make any difference what the SEC says, whether they say, oh, it's a security. But okay, fair enough. Maybe they sold it originally as a security, but now it has use. It's not really a security, because why would you use your security to sort of make a bank transfer? That's weird, isn't it? You wouldn't say, okay, here's 200 Tesla stocks. This is how I'm going to send you, 10 grand or whatever it is. I'm going to send you my 200 Tesla stocks, and then you can convert that into money. So, I haven't converted my money into Tesla stocks to send to you for you then to convert. That's just long. That's a hassle. That doesn't make sense. I don't think it's going to get ruled as security. They're going to get a fine for selling a token as a security, maybe something for poor marketing, but it's definitely not a security token.
No, it all relates back to how they sold it. It's purely a case of selling an unlicensed security. It's just this big because it is XRP, because it's a massive cryptocurrency in the space. That's the reason why it's this big. It's like when a neighbour next door gets done for drink driving, no one cares. If a massive celebrity gets done for drink driving, it's all over the news. So
exactly, yeah, because it's one of the top ones. So that's the only reason it's getting so much attention.
So yeah, that's one lawsuit of many. We've got Craig Wright and the Kleiman case that's coming up next year. Tether rumbles on, continues to have all these question marks over it, especially when they've minted 14 billion tokens this year.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount this year.
Who knows? On the legal side, could be a lot to come next year. But when I think of next year, I think Bitcoin will still be the king, because it could go on to do really, really crazy things. I think there will be one altcoin cycle that will be pretty big. But I don't think DeFi is going to come back in the way it was. I think hopefully that's done. It will be people actually building things from now on. But there'll be one trend that comes up next year that replaces ICOs, that replaces DeFi, that all the stupid money pours into. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, exactly. That'll make itself known early on. That's for sure. Yeah. Maybe by Easter we'll know what that is.
Yeah, indeed. But I think either way, it's been a crazy, crazy year. Who could have predicted anything that's happened this year, really? Even if you could have predicted one, you couldn't have predicted the other.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, obviously 2020 was amazing for Bitcoin in so many ways. Amazing for introverts and people that don't like going out. So, yeah, I think thank you, 2020. You were great for the crypto community, not so great for almost everyone else in the world.
2020 has also been amazing for us.
As in FullyCrypto?
Yeah, because what do we start the year as? We started the year as BitStars News.
Yep.
And now we are FullyCrypto. We have our own beautiful website. We've got a podcast. We've got so much stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we've come so far. We've gone from nothing to where we are now in, what is it? It's less than it's about 9 months, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's April we launched.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all in all, 2020 hasn't been terrible. I mean, if you put the virus aside, it's been an amazing year for crypto, for us, for everyone in this industry.
And it's really, really easy to think of 2020 as the year of the coronavirus, but there's been so much going on. You know, life carries on, and outside of that, if it hadn't been for that, it would have been a fantastic year for us anyway. So you kind of have to put that aside and look at the positive and actually think, you know what, yeah, there's been this really, really weird thing going around the world that's caused these unprecedented lockdowns and all this sort of thing. But you take that out of the equation, like you say, and it's been a good year for us. It's been a good year for the crypto space that we love, like you say, and hopefully it will lead to bigger and better things next year.
Yeah, exactly. I think as long as we take the positives and negatives and then build upon them, 2021 is just going to be even bigger and even better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think on that more positive note, we'll leave it there and we'll leave 2020 there. Alex, it's been a pleasure to share these podcasts with you this year, and I think we'll look forward to doing many, many more next year. We'll hopefully get to our 100 next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Thank you, everyone out there listening. It's been great to start this little journey with you, and hopefully we continue to grow and continue to entertain you. And we wish you all the best for 2021. We hope you continue listening and stick with us through next year. It's going to be very exciting times. Stick with crypto. You know you love it. And we'll speak to you in the new year.
Yeah. Have a wonderful new year. Happy New Year, guys.